Today we're talking about artist management, the ups, the downs, highs, lows. What's it take to be a good one? Let's get into it.
You are now listening to the Music Business Streams podcast, brought to you by KDMR Music.
Yo. Welcome to the Music Business Dreams podcast, episode 8, 9, 8, 7, I don't know. So thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Brandon Jackson. And of course, if you're listening to the show, you know that this is the point where I just thank you guys for being a part of the audience, for being a part of our listenership, because it's really cool to see how this podcast has grown. We don't put any advertising money behind this. We just, we post the show and we go. So I wanted to shout out you guys for a second, just a few things I've noticed. So we've had listens in over 22 different countries. So I want to shout out some of the places we've seen you guys listening from. We've got Canada, we've got the UK, we've got Argentina, Portugal, Germany, Sweden, South Africa, Macedonia, the British Virgin Islands, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Latvia, and so many more places. I want to say thank you guys for listening to the show. I really hope the show has been helping you. Hey, do something for me. Do me a favor. I want you guys to reach out to me on Twitter at KDMR Music and tell me how you've been enjoying the show, where you're listening from. Shout out your city, shout out your country, shout out your state, wherever you are. I want to know who you are, and I want to talk to you guys. So now that that's out of the way, I want to talk to you guys about our next guest. We had an amazing conversation with Mike Luna, and now he's the founder of Moon Artists. He's an artist manager, but he told us about how he got started in the music business, what he does on a day-to-day basis as an artist manager. There are great tips for independent artists, but also people who want to be managers as well. So I won't ruin it. Let's get right into that interview. All right, guys, our next guest on the show is Mike Luna. He's a Flint, Michigan native who lives in Chicago via Dallas, Texas, and one of a few indigenous people working in the music industry right now. He started Moon Management in 2016 with his first client, Xavier Omar, and I'll let him tell you the rest. So welcome to the Music Business Dreams podcast, Mike Luna.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really excited for our conversation. And I want to jump right in. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right, like you said earlier, I'm from Flint, Michigan, born and raised. Moved down to the south of Dallas right after high school. Went to college in Dallas. Moved out to Cali for a little bit, moved back to Dallas, and that's when about 2010 is when I kind of got started in the music biz. I started out helping artists build their websites. So you remember this is like 2010, so WordPress just started kind of like popping. So I was building a few websites for some artists.
Okay.
And then I helped out a friend who had started an independent hip-hop label. Was helping them out with like social media and some marketing stuff. Did that for a year. And then in the summer of 2011, asked me if I'd come on as his business partner. So I bought 40% of an independent hip-hop label for $1,000. And that's how I got in the music business.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like it's so funny because my educational background doesn't say I should be in the music business. I'm from Flint, Michigan. People from Flint don't really get, don't get to be where I get to be right now, which is crazy. So yeah, everything like points to like I should not be where I'm at.
Right. And so you started. What was your educational background?
So it's so funny, dude. My bachelor's degree is in theological studies, and then I have a master's degree as well in theological studies.
Wow.
So I was on my way to work in the clergy, to be a minister. That was my trajectory.
Wow. So what was it about the music industry that kind of kept you in?
Well, I've always been like a big music fan, specifically like hip hop. And once I got into it, it was almost like you don't know how much you like it until you like do it. And
Right.
so, yeah, like once I got into it, it was like fish in water, man. Like I was like, how come I haven't been doing this for a minute? Like I just fell in love with it. Yeah, just helping, especially like being able to help artists, like, you know, identify like their goals and like what they want to do, and then helping them get there, like, you know, building a strategy, trying to figure out like, you know, the next steps, you know, how to get to where they want to go. So,
Right.
Nice. So you talked a little bit about, your earlier work in the business. Can you talk about that transition from, just doing website development to helping to set up full-on marketing campaigns and how that transition went for you?
yeah, man. Yeah, because at first, I mean, it was kind of like, you know, just like freelance. You work on one kind of like project here and there. And then transitioning into when I became, you know, part of this label, I came on as a chief marketing officer or chief operations officer. And now you're, you know, taking an artist, going, you know, looking at, you know, an album, and like, okay, album's done, figuring out, okay, what's the overall message of the album? How do we want to communicate this? What does this look like visually? You know, how do we maximize social media? So even like the second album I ever worked on, like we were able to devise a marketing plan. We spent no money on marketing, zero money on marketing, and it debuted 89 on Billboard Top 200. Like,
Wow.
yeah, like, so it's just, you know, like, there's more way, but like, just a more focus. The transition is just like more of a focus, tailoring it to the artist. Yeah.
So let's talk about that early Billboard success. If you guys weren't spending money on marketing, what was the strategy to kind of get it in front of people?
So again, this was late 2012, early 2013, and so like it's funny, like I talk about her, my wife, as like my secret weapon. So she's like this marketing genius. She's literally one of the first people to use social media for marketing for businesses. Like back in the day, I don't remember if you remember Zanga, that like little like mini blog thing that was one of the first social media platforms out. I mean, she was like using that to help people like Mark. So she was literally like the way her mind works. She's like 5-7 years ahead of everybody. So she actually sat us down and showed us how Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram, how they work together, how they're similar, how they're different. Just really gave us like this like boot camp of like how to utilize these platforms. And yeah, so like out of that, then we just devised a strategy of like how to use these platforms. And yeah, man, it was crazy. You couldn't back then. So like, the name of the project was We Live as Kings, WLAK. And like you just could not get away from it. You could not get away from it. And like it was funny because this is when Macklemore's The Heist was like sitting atop of like iTunes hip hop, and like
Right.
we like passed it. We were like ended up number one like when it debuted.
Wow.
Like, it was crazy. Like it was crazy. Like this is back when people were still buying albums. I mean, I think we did like in our first it was like 6,000 albums sold. Like sold, not streamed, sold. Like, which it's funny to think about. That was only 5 years ago.
Right. And now it's like that's almost unheard of for an independent act.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it was crazy because even like Billboard took notice and even did like a little like article about it, a little write up about the album, how like just kind of came out of nowhere.
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing an article. This was this was like what, a year and a half ago maybe, about how if an artist can get like 2,000 sales, and you can end up on a Billboard chart. Like, it doesn't take that much, just because people aren't buying music as much anymore.
Oh yeah, it's not even close. Like, dude, I grew up, like, my high school years were in the 90s, you know? So I remember in like Vanilla Ice, I think in his first week did like 12 million albums.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, those days are so long gone.
Okay. So
We're getting real hype when people hit gold. That used to be like the norm.
right.
Yeah, I know. I remember I was wondering, like, and maybe because of the streams, like, you can keep the same benchmarks in place. But I know for a little bit there was talk of reclassifying the album sales certifications, like making it to where platinum was 500,000 and gold was less than that. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think that's in the works anymore.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen.
Right. But after Collision Records, you kind of transitioned into artist management in 2016. Why make the switch?
So, well, actually what happened is I was at Collision Records for 3 years. I sold my shares back to them and started another label with a friend of mine, Straight Terrible Music. And then we changed the name to Never Sleep Music. So when we started that indie label, Xavier was the first person we signed. Back then he was going by Spazzy Rocket. So he was the first artist we signed, and when we signed him, he was like, "Hey, I need a manager." So I was like, "Cool." I was like, "I'll do it until we can find you someone." Well, like 2 years into it, it was just like, well, it's not broke, you know, don't fix it. And actually, like in those 2 years of doing management and getting into it, I actually like liked that aspect more than running a label. So then, yeah, it's when Xavier and I decided, like, yeah, okay, let's make this like a for real like management partnership. So then April of 2016 is when I started new.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I just love that aspect of the music business is just because like just real talk, man. Like labels now are like independent labels. Like basically they do a lot of management already. They do a lot of management work already. But then on top of that, it's also like funding projects, you know, and then there's just some of the day-to-day type stuff. Like, I'm not a big administration, so like at the first of the month, you know, we get our payouts, and then having to pay out producers, like having to sit down and do that was just, I mean, that's like torturous. Like you know, looking at spreadsheets, all that stuff, oh, necessary, but not what I was not excited about that.
Right. So talk about the flip side of that with management and the things that you enjoy about that.
Oh man, but management is just like being able to really like be an advocate for the artists I get to work with. You know, so really like in finding opportunities like outside of music, like all the opportunities are connected to music, but they're not necessarily like you know, a direct line. It's more like a dotted line. So, you know, just finding opportunities for guys to, you know, get their names out there, build their brands. But also being an advocate for them, like, you know, say like shows and stuff. And like, I love to negotiate. I love it. So if it's a show or someone wants one of the artists to do something, like I love to negotiate the deal. I love it. I'm competitive. I played 16 years of soccer, so I think it scratches that itch, like getting in there to be competitive and just kind of quote unquote win.
right. So,
yeah, but the other thing too is like, you know, these artists, like, you know, not all, some of them have like, you know, have some business mindset to them. a lot of them, they just want to make their music. They don't want to like have to worry about necessarily the business stuff. Now, I get you don't want to worry about it, but you definitely need to be aware of what's going on business wise.
Right.
So, but that's the other, is like, I hate this because I'm sure this is a music industry. It's it can be dark. There's a lot of greedy people in this
Definitely.
industry, and they'll try and like take advantage of you. Like, it's funny, man, even in our experience, like I'm a nice guy, but don't like confuse me being a nice guy as a weakness. Like, don't make that mistake. Like, because like if you try to take advantage of us straight coming at us, like it's not gonna work out well for you.
Right. So how would you describe your day-to-day role as a manager?
Man, dude, there's no 2 days that look the same. Like, it's funny, people try to ask me, like, what's a typical day? I'm like, typical day, it doesn't exist. Like, it just depends. Because especially because, like, Xavier's not the only artist I work with. There's
Right.
probably in total, it's probably, I think I'm around 7 now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just even in this week, man, like 2 artists put out singles, another artist put out a video. Let's see, like another, Xavier got, the song he featured on for Superboy, got announced on 2K19. Another act, they had a show here in Chicago. So, there's all those things that are going on. Then also, like, it just depends what's going on, like this week as well. Like, I sat down, with in our, duo Irish Temple that I work with. They're getting ready to, they just dropped yesterday, Friday, the single. And so it was just, trying to get that out to as many people as possible. And then, with them, like, they also announced their EP. So it was like, we met about that, like what that's going to look like, how we're going to maximize that, rollout.
Right.
There is no typical, this is one thing like, the music industry has like a framework. There's not like a whole lot of like structure. Like, you can make it look like however you want it to, really.
Right.
I transitioned into the consulting that I do now, and then, the educational platform we have with the podcast and YouTube and things like that. I was in artist management as well, and trying to describe artist management, because I got started around 2011 also, and in that time it was like, it seemed like artist management was doing everything a label would do, but with none of the resources. And and it seems that way even more so now. And trying to describe to an artist what a manager does, right? Because that's the other thing. A lot of artists feel like they need a manager. I don't know, because it's like a buzzworthy term, or just everybody's got one, but no one really knows what they do. What do you think an artist should be looking out for? Well, even before then, when do you think an artist is ready for a manager?
I think an artist is ready for a manager when the business aspects of their career becomes too much or like overwhelming. Or I guess the best way I would say is when the business aspects of your career are interfering with your creative being able to make music. If you're having to put too much focus into the business side of it and it's affecting your ability to create music, that's when you need a manager.
Definitely. And I would agree with that. So what do you think an artist should look out for when it comes to choosing the right manager? You think there are qualities that a good manager has, or does it depend on the artist?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what the artist is wanting from a manager. because some artists like to be very hands-on. Some want to be very, like just kind of hands-off, just be in the know of what's going on. So, but I mean, you want someone that is going to be willing to like fight for you, like, like because if you let them, people will take advantage of you in the music industry. You need a manager that's going to be like, nah, like, like, and also like a manager that understands your worth as an artist, is on the same page with you about the artist's worth. The other thing too is like, there's a lot I have seen like management or managers that are like also wanting to be artists. I don't know. I just don't. It's rare that you see that work. Usually, like if someone, like in any part of like actually like any part of the business, music business, that like someone's trying to pursue being an artist, and they try to be either run a label or be a manager or some aspect of the business. Like usually it doesn't work because they want to like focus on their art as well.
Right.
Like, so it's not impossible. But it's just highly unlikely that it's going to work, or that it's going to like. Yeah, I have not seen it work well.
Right. Yeah, I once saw the relationship between an artist and their manager compared to a marriage. And from from the little bit of experience I had, I was a manager for like 5-6 years. I found that to be true. And maybe it's because the act I had was female, but it was like, because you're constantly having to work out these communication barriers, and then you've got your goals and the artist has their own goals, and then you're dealing with, as a manager, you're not just managing activities, but you're managing moods and you're managing expectations. How do you balance all of those things, especially with as many acts as you have, and kind of tailor that to those activities to each artist that you have?
So I'm about to go way deep. So one, I don't believe in balance. Balance does not exist. Like I don't know anybody that ever where their life is fully balanced. That everything is like on the same plane and everything is balanced. Like, so I don't know, like I don't try to pursue balance. But what I would say is like it's a dance, and there's different moods and different type of music playing, so you got to adapt. So like, I don't know if I can totally see the marriage metaphor. For me, it's more like, I guess, because even like the guys like that I work with, like they've given me the nickname Unk. So it's like more almost like my relationship is more almost like older brother, maybe uncle type, like, so very familial, but there's like the relationship I have with the artists I work with, like trust is huge, and like I make sure they know me like inside and out. I don't, even like on a personal level, like yeah, like they know me, like, it was funny, one time my wife and I had some of the guys over for the cookout, and my wife asked them, like, I don't know, just out of curiosity, like, hey, what do you like, what do you normally eat, blah blah blah. And one of the guys said, oh man, I've been eating sweet for dinner. And someone else was like, what? And he was like, yeah, like I eat sweet for, I've been eating sweet, saying he's not been eating anything. That dude went home. My wife packed up probably like 3 grocery bags full of food, and like, sent him home with it, and was like, you're not eating sweet for dinner ever again. Like, that's the type of like, relationship like that I have with the artists I work with. Like, they know, like, if they're in need, like I feel very strongly like about one of my like duties as a manager is to remove obstacles from them that can, hinder them creating music and pursuing their dream. So, I'm always looking at the long-term play. So I'll take a $50 L right now when I know, in 2 years it might come back in like $10,000-$15,000. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
this is the type of like relationship or like, even with, cause like a lot of these guys I've known, for a while now, like Xavier obviously I've known him, since 2013. So it's 5 years. Asai Ziv, who I work with, I've known him. I've known him since he was like 14 or 15 years old. I mean, he just turned 22 not too long ago. So I've known him for a long time. Suede I've known for a long time. Pat Jr. I've known, I've known Pat Jr. Pat Jr. is interesting because I knew him more as a producer than a rapper because he had produced some records for us. But I've known him for a couple of years. Irish Temple, like, they're the only ones that I had been, like, have a, like, prior relationship with before entering management with them.
Right.
But I think I answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's totally fine. That's why we do podcasts. Let's see. So, I guess we kind of alluded to this earlier, but record sales are, almost a non-existent revenue stream in the music business unless you're like a top tier act. So how are you able to get by, on managers' commissions while allowing your artists, to maintain their integrity, knowing that record sales aren't a part of the deal?
Oh, dude, like, so, I mean, that's why I like finding stuff outside of that, so that's where, like pitching for TV shows and movies or ads, comes in, or just like, like I'm pretty involved with shows, getting the guys shows. So like, it's just having to find other opportunities. TV, pitching for music for like TV and film is pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
Like even, Irish Temple has gotten on, Black Lightning earlier this year. That was a nice little check for them. Xavier, like, him being on the Insecure soundtrack and the NBA 2K19 soundtrack, they're just other, avenues you just have to find, like, even like early on, like, Xavier, in his Bonfire album, like one of the singles out there, like I got a deal with Starbucks where they were streaming his, one of his songs in every Starbucks in the U.S. and in China, like, so it's just trying to find other avenues to, like make money you just can't solely, like, what is it, like $1 for every 150 streams? Like, to make $1,000, you have to basically stream 500,000 streams to make $1,000. Like, yeah, you're just not gonna, unless you're a superstar, you're not making much off of streaming.
Right. Definitely.
But shows are huge. Merchandise is huge as well. So.
True. Okay.
That's the thing, like with managers, because I have my hand in everything. Like, because we have even like built a team, like, like there's a guy that works for Moon that he's Xavier's tour manager. So it's just, you got to get creative.
Right. So as your agency grows and as you take on more acts, I would imagine you have to add more staff. How is it adding people to an operation where you care about what's happening so deeply? How do you find it? Is it easy for you to trust people and delegate tasks to them?
Well, the thing is, here's real time case in point. So earlier this year, I hired this guy, Iser Martinez, and he's come on as my assistant because he really wanted to learn how we do stuff. Because he's unbelievably talented, like crazy talented. And our interview, though, like, it ended up being 3 hours. Not that I meant it to be that long. It was just we, like, connected, like, on, like, music and business. And, like, I could just tell, I mean, you know, if you have a conversation with someone for 3 hours, like, either you're arguing really bad or, like, it's a vibe, you know?
Right.
And so, like, even in that process, like, and I'm slow about bringing people on. Like, I really want to, like, know them. And, like, I'm very, very direct. Like, there is no, with me, there's no in between the lines, nothing underlying, like, what I say is what I mean. And so I'm very direct about, like, expectations, consequences. Yeah, so, like, nobody that works for me ever has to guess what I'm thinking or, like, what is expected of them.
Right.
But yeah, like, I've also been pretty lucky because, like, yeah, the team that I have, man, they're phenomenal. Like, this dude, so Xavier's tour manager, there's a quick story. This guy, his name's Steven. This dude, so Xavier was doing his first headline tour in December of 2017. Xavier wanted some lights for his, you know, like his own lighting. And so we got him, you know, lighting, and this dude, Steven, in literally one day, who had never run lights before, ever, in one day learned how to use the entire lighting system. And it wasn't just like this was some like LED stuff that like Xavier wanted certain colors at certain points in the music or, you know, in the song. And like, I mean, it was pretty intricate. This dude learned it in one day and ran it for all 16 shows.
Wow.
Like, I've never seen anything like that. I didn't even know he could do that. I don't even think he knew he could do that.
Right.
But I mean, like, yeah, and like, I just have been like, yeah, like, I've got amazing people around me working with me. And the other thing too, man, is how you build your team, man. Like, it's not like my team, like, I just don't view them as, like, quote unquote working for me. I don't do this hierarchy of running my company. It is like, this is where we're going. Come alongside me. Let's go there. You want to come alongside? Let's go. Now, yes, we all have different responsibilities. My responsibility is how the company goes and to run it, but I just don't view them. It's more like I view like people that work with me. Even using that, like, type of language, like, you don't work for me, you work with me. That's huge too. Like, and that trickles on down, you know, even to the artist. Like I'm working with you, like, trying to help you get to where you want to go.
Right. Nice, man. So I was reading an article that you were quoted in for DJ Booth, and they were asking about, you know, what does it mean to be independent in 2018, right? And I think the biggest thing that had happened at the time was Chance had just signed, or Chance had just told everyone how Coloring Book came about and how Apple had given him, I think, $500,000 for exclusive rights for a certain period of time. So you were quoted as saying that being independent means the artist has complete creative control. It doesn't so much matter about what the distribution model is, nor does it matter who owns the masters. What's your approach to the idea of independence? Do you feel like that's something that needs to be maintained at all times, or do you have anything against like a label deal when the time comes?
Nah, like there's a reason why there's only one Chance the Rapper. Like, and it's amazing what they've been able to do. Him and his team have been able to do, being independent, you know. But like, there's a reason why, you know, like, there's only been one of him. Nobody else has been able to replicate what they've done. So yeah, to me, it's more like whatever is the most beneficial for the artist. So if it is staying independent and not signing to a major, if that's what's most beneficial and going to get to the artist where they want to go, then do that. But if, going and signing with a label a major is gonna get you to where you want to go, then do that as well. I don't think every artist, there's some artists that should never sign to a major. And then there's some artists that absolutely should sign to a major. To me, there's a lot of gray there. It's not so black and white of like, especially, if an artist wants to sign to a major, that should, I'm never going to try and, what I don't do is I don't try and talk an artist out of what they want. Like, if that's what they want to do, all right, then we'll pursue that. I have like opinions about it and I'll express those opinions, but, at the end of the day, like, it's the artist's career and it's up to them. So if that's what they want to do, then let's go get it.
Right.
So it seems like a lot of managers, there's kind of two forms. Well, it's like there's the career manager who's been managing artists like from back in the old days of the business, and then there's new managers, which a lot of people just kind of stumble on the job and then learn as they go. So for people who want to be artist managers, what advice do you have for them?
That's good. One is definitely count the cost, because even, let's just say you're getting 20% of whatever an artist makes. Mm-hmm. That's really not, you're only making 20 cents on the dollar. So really count the cost. Like, is it really worth it to, if an artist, brings in $250, is it really worth it for you to get that 50 to collect an out? Always, so be thinking of the long-term play. Are you willing to sacrifice up front, the $50 to $100 commissions for the, $2,000, $3,000 commissions maybe in a year or so? You have to believe in the artist you're working with. Like, if you don't like their music, and if you don't believe in what they are about, for me, that is huge. I'll give you one of my secrets. So one of the things I do is I give each artist I work with, I have this questionnaire, and it's 5 questions of why, 5 questions of what, and 5 questions of how. And I have them answer those in order from why to what to how. And based on those answers, it communicates, what the artist is about, and what they're about, if they believe in what they're doing, if they've thought about, what it is they want to do, what their goals are, what it is they want to achieve, and then, how they want to get to these things and do these things. So I look at, looking at that, it lets me know, how much they believe in themselves, because, I cannot believe in an artist for them. If an artist doesn't believe in themselves and what they want to do, there's no point for me. There's no reason to even get into it, because if you don't believe in it, in yourself, I can't do it for you, and therefore I can't do anything for you.
Right.
So that's huge. And then the music business, I told you 5 years ago, we're sold 6,000 albums. I can't even remember the last time, I've worked with an artist that did that in their first week or so. So constantly the music industry is constantly evolving. And so you just got to be constantly learning. The day you think you've arrived and think you've learned everything there is to know about the music business, that's the beginning of the end for you.
Right.
So you always like be reading, listening to podcasts, like trying to, know like what's going on, and always paying attention to where music is going. Cause like here's the thing, like check this out, Brandon. Today, someone could literally drop a song today that changes how music looks for like the next 5 to 7 years. It is like music is that like volatile. It is that like unpredictable. That like someone could drop new hotness with a completely different sound from what is popular right now and change music for the next 5 years. So you just got to be constantly looking, constantly listening. And also like one of the things that I've like seen, especially in management, is like managers are like, our job is not to dictate to the artists what they need to do. So like, cause like I've seen managers like be on artists about, being in the studio every day. Like being in the studio is good, but not every artist needs to be in there every day. Like we don't dictate to the artists what they do. If anything, we come alongside the artist. We're to be an artist advocate. And I know that's not, I guess, like the norm right now, but like, I don't know, like, all I can say is for me, it's worked and it's working. It didn't work with just one artist. It's working like over and over again. So yeah, I don't know. Sorry, that's my kind of like pet peeve in the music industry as manager right now, is just managers thinking there's almost like this like God complex right now in management. You got managers that have like hit some success and now they just think like, you have to listen to me. It's not so much like, and actually it's the other way around. We need to listen to the artist. Right. And figure out how to get the artist to where they want to go.
Right. Yeah, and what I tell artists is, the manager works for you, right? The manager, a lot of times is referred to as the CEO of the artist's company, but the artist is still the owner. So the manager could get fired at any point. So, I mean, obviously you bring someone on because they have experience and they have knowledge and they're valuable for you to listen to at points. But if they're trying to tell you to do something that you're not comfortable with or that you feel goes against who you are as an artist or even just as a person, don't take that from them. You're still in control.
But I think
it's funny. Oh, go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, I think that kind of goes back into the whole point about the artists educating themselves. But go ahead.
Oh no, I was just thinking like there's some stories I've heard, man. Like if I took that attitude, like say towards like an Xavier, if I was trying to tell Xavier like what clothes to wear, how he should do his hair, how he should sing, like seriously, I'm gonna tell Xavier Omar how to sing? Nah, you're crazy. Just yeah, man. Some of the stories I hear of like managers trying to make these artists do things that like they don't want to do is crazy.
Yeah. So you talked about the importance of kind of always learning. What are some resources that you would recommend?
Oh, like there is, I have to pull them up because like it's so funny. Like my Twitter account, the people that I follow it's turned into like people that, like I can't remember their names, but I see their like tweets all the time. But yeah, like Twitter there's like a couple of music tech dudes that I like to follow that are, of course I'm like drawing a blank on there. And there's this one dude, he does here in Chicago, here on these days news, Brent Butcher I follow, Cole Bennett I obviously follow. But yeah, it's just being like finding like people that are doing like a Cole Bennett. I mean, that dude is killing the music video game right now. like killing it. Lyrical, he runs Lyrical Lemonade.
Right.
You know, like that dude is just killing it. So yeah, I'm paying attention to what he's doing. I mean, that dude's throwing in his first music festival with Joey Badass and Trippie Redd. You know, like headlining, like today, tomorrow. Yeah.
Wow.
I read Billboard. I read XXL, Noisy, and then there's like that also kind of depends on. So like for example, Xavier's his messaging is very much be encouraging, empowering, and uplifting to women. So like I pay attention a lot to like this organization, a nonprofit called Women in Music. I pay attention to them a lot, like what they're doing. Who else? I mean, Instagram is like the new A&R. So like I'm on there a lot, like looking at or just seeing like, who else? I mean, hot new hip hop I pay attention to a lot. There's another one that's kind of more R&B focused called Boombox, St. Heron, the Faders, DJ Booth. The writing at DJ Booth is amazing. Like their writing is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love their articles. I don't understand them because they like quoted me, but they're just they're good people. Complex, pay attention a lot to them.
Right.
Then also like this is gonna sound a little random, dude, but to pay attention to what's going on in culture, man. So like a lot of like news, so all of them like, but even like Al Jazeera, BBC, just to pay attention to what's going on in the world. I think that is like another thing that like, just being aware of what's going on in the world, period, is helpful. Knowing like what that lets you know what people like care about.
Right.
Then also like I study because I guess like I'm an entrepreneur myself, so I like to study other entrepreneurs. Like I'm a massive fan of Ronnie Fag over at KISS.
Right.
Massive fan. Like what that dude has been able to do with his business in like under 10 years, unbelievable. Like, like this man is the only brand to put their logo on a Coca-Cola bottle ever. And this company's not even 10 years old. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
so I pay attention to like, other like entrepreneurs and stuff that, people like, in business, not necessarily, he's like a dotted line to music because it's, he's such part of the culture. His brand is such a part of the culture. And I'm a real, I think the other thing too is like staying local, like being an advocate for like, people that are doing things creatively. So like me, like being in Chicago, like there's a called Fat Tiger Workshop, and they house like 3 or 4 different like clothing brands. And this dude's like blown up. His name is Joe Freshgoods. I'm sure, possibly you've heard of him. Like, like I just make sure I like support those too, and like know what's going on with them because they're music fans. They can help you.
Right.
And so sports. I pay attention to a lot of sports, and there's a lot of athletes that are fans of guys I work with.
Right.
And even wrestling, bro. Like, I mean, Xavier, it's no secret Xavier's a massive wrestling fan. And I share the fandom. I'm a big fan as well. I just, like, that's like, people ask me, like, what it is that I'm good at. Like, my niche is learning. That is my niche. Like, that is what I try to learn about. If I have any kind of interest in it at all, I'll find out about it as much as possible.
Right. And I've seen on your Instagram you're kind of getting into beat making a little bit. What brought that on? Is that just a fun hobby for you?
Yeah. It's just you know, like FL, you know, I think it was when I got it, it was like $100. I was like, I'll pay $100 for this just to, cause like, yeah, it's a way for me to like unwind.
Right.
You know, just like, I don't, well, it's funny. I used to tell people like, yeah, nobody's ever gonna sing or rap over, you know, anything. And there's like two of them. There's two artists I want to use, two beats I use. I was like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, but yeah, it's another way for me to like, kind of like relate to the guys I work with, and to the artists I work with.
Right.
Because even like, it's a way for me to allow myself to be vulnerable with them. Like, I'll send them like a beat and be like, what do you guys think? What do you think? And it's funny, but some of them are like, yo, this is bad. This is bad. I'm like, okay, I'll take that. But, you know, it's just another way for me to like, just kind of like, you know, relate to them, and also like helps me understand the process of their like, of how they create, you know, like, it's not, you know, these songs just don't like pop up, you know, out of nowhere, out of thin air.
Right.
So yeah, it's just a hobby, man. It's a way for me to unwind.
Cool. So what's the future looking like for Moon Artist and for you in particular as well?
So the immediate 2018, I'm not ready to say who yet, but signed first female artist to Moon. That has been, like, coming into this year, that has been a goal of mine, is wanting to sign a female artist. So just did that. We'll be announcing that when it's time to. It's the first time that I'm working with an artist that hasn't been putting music. Like, even if I give you their name, you couldn't find. They literally don't have any music out there. This is a total like from scratch, which I've never done before. Everybody that I've worked with has been working in music for a while, has released music and built a fan base. I just believe in her talent that much.
Wow.
That, like, it was funny because I was waiting for a little while, and I was like, I know I want to sign her. I know I want to. Why am I waiting? Like, so, you know, I talked to her about it, and yeah, like, you know, after a few conversations, and I was like, yeah, okay, let's do this. So that's the immediate future, is getting her music out, getting her first single out. When, I don't know. Tours, like Xavier's got his European tour in October. Iris Temple's got working on some shows with them. Probably got one out of the country, like literally on the other side of the world next spring, which is crazy. Yeah, like everybody, I mean, there's a lot of, aside Ziv's working, he's got a single dropping soon with a video, probably a project this year as well. Yeah, everybody's just putting out music this, you know, before the end of the year. There's going to be a lot of music coming from us before the year's over. And then future, I don't know, man. Like, I'm definitely one to, you know, never say never. I've had some thoughts of working on a clothing line. I've had some thoughts of moving into representing athletes. I don't know. I just have a bunch of different interests. But music is like always going to be number one in priority. Like,
Right.
it's kind of, you know, it's like, it's the first love. I don't know if I'm going to be signing too many more artists. Like, the team's got to get bigger. Cause yeah, I'm pretty much at my limit.
Right.
To be able to do what I do effectively. You know, like, I'm pretty much at my limit. So yeah, I'm always looking for people to come. Like, we're looking for interns right now. that has been, oh man, you want to talk about generational gap? Because I was born in 1979. So I'm in that weird, like, Gen X, millennial, weird, like, because, like, you know, I grew up knowing, like, first cell phones, and, you know, I remember when Nintendo came out. You know, I remember when the internet, you know, the first, you know, AOL and all that stuff first was coming out and stuff. And that, oh, you know, my parents used to make me go outside and play for, you know, a couple hours, just leave and be back before it was dark type stuff. So like trying to bring on like millennials and Gen Z, it's just, there's such a generational gap. Like I had somebody literally applying for the internship asking me if I was going to provide for them a MacBook Pro. I was like, are you serious? Like,
Oh, wow.
what? And they wanted to know how many vacation days they got. Like, I'm like, you're an intern. What are we talking about?
Wow.
So that has been so difficult, like to find, to find like interns, people that want to work, like they want to work and be willing to sacrifice. Like, nobody wants to be uncomfortable. Nobody wants to, have to sacrifice anything. Everybody just like sees like the cool stuff. They see that, you know, like, yes, I have got to travel a lot. I've got to meet some cool people. I've got to be part of some cool things. But how we got there, what people don't understand is like, you know, I used to have to DJ for Xavier in the early days.
Mm.
I'm not a DJ. Like that's not my, like, I did it because I had to do it. You know, we had to get early flights back because Xavier had to go work a fast food restaurant job in the early days. People they forget that. They think, oh, you just became like overnight. No, it's taken years.
Right.
So it's just trying to find people that want to come and work and like. So if you know anybody, Brandon, send info.
So, do they need to be local to Chicago, or is it remote?
It could be like that's the thing is I'm open. My thing is if depending on like what it's going to be, like I'm open. Like it could be remote, you know. Like if you can. Here's the thing, like, and I tell the people that work with me, because there's no, like, I don't have set hours for the people that work with me. It's like, look, here's the deadline. This needs to be done by this day. If it takes you 1 hour or 12 hours per day to get it done, I don't care. Just as long as it gets it done. Like, so if it only takes you an hour to get this done, awesome. Go do whatever else. As long as you got your work done and done right. So, yeah, if the person can do what we need to get done from, you know, North Carolina, California, Washington, wherever, it doesn't matter. As long as you can get it done.
Okay. Actually, I might have a name for you. We can talk about it after we wrap up. But yeah, so, well, I appreciate you coming onto the show and, you know, talking about your experiences and sharing your insights. You know, our audience is mostly artists, but then there are also aspiring managers and other professionals as well. So I know that they can benefit from the insights that you've given. So thank you again for coming and agreeing to be on the show.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. I was actually surprised when you hit me up. I'm like, I don't know what I have to contribute, but we can do this.
Well, no, I'm trying to get help people see other aspects of the industry. I think there's a lot out there, you know, geared towards people who want to be artists, and a lot of it just kind of, you know, get rich quick schemes, or here's how you can get 10,000 fans on Facebook, right? But for me, the reason I started my company is because I noticed that there were not a lot of opportunities in the creative fields, specifically for minorities, right? And so I created the company with the goal in mind, like, okay, one day I want to open up this facility and have like underprivileged kids basically working as interns alongside like the more experienced studio staff or film staff or whoever happens to be at the facility at the time, just to show, you know, there's other ways, right? You don't have to be, you know, behind the microphone all the time. You can be an artist manager, you can be a graphic designer. There's a lot of different jobs and there's a lot of different opportunities for people who are creative. You don't have to feel like you're wasting your time by doing it. So with this podcast, I wanted to, highlight some of the other people who, doing some of the jobs that are unsung, so to speak, to just kind of open up that world for them as well.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, that's dope. And I'm so yeah, it's refreshing to see someone like what you're doing. Yeah, you're advocating for artists, equipping them, giving them the tools to like be successful, which is like rare. Like you need more people like you being willing to do this. Before I forget though, I do want to like, you're talking about the future, like so I am, native or indigenous to, and that is like one of the things I want to sign an artist that is indigenous, native to here. I have my eye on there's one artist I have my eye on. We'll see, but yeah, that is my goal. And that's another thing too, is like, there's an awareness I want to bring about to Native peoples here in music and in culture in general. I feel like we have something to contribute. And so that is like, be actively working on that for, ever.
Nice, man. Well, I definitely wish you luck with that because I know how it is to be a minority and to feel like you're overlooked. So I wish you nothing but success in that regard. And I know you'll get it because you're a boss.
Thanks, man.
No
Yeah, thank you, man, thank you for giving me this opportunity to, just talk with you, and hopefully it's helpful to some artists.
This is definitely going to be helpful to a lot of people. And that's going to do it for our interview with Mike Luna. Now, you can follow him on Twitter at LunaMike. I'll leave all his information below in the description, in the show notes. So while you're on Twitter, make sure you reach out to us at KDMR Music. I want to know where you're listening from. So shout out your city, shout out your state, shout out your country. Maybe post a picture of your flag, rep it proudly. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Music Business Dreams. Thank you for listening. Until next week, peace.